Scorpio, welcome to your monthly sidereal forecast for June. My name is Athen. So let's look at the chart right here at the beginning of the month. We've got the full moon on the 2nd in your first house. So 6 months ago, it was your guys' birthday, give or take, when you had the new moon energy here in the first. So now it's a culmination point of perhaps the things you've been working on since that time period, because you know the solar return, the birthday, is always a time of new beginnings and heading off into a new direction. And so that's for, generally for your sun signs. But for all of you Scorpios, nonetheless, you still had that in your first house. So new beginnings over the past 6 months. If you've been working on them, if you've been spending time on self, on your goals, your plans, your drives, your ambitions, it can be a culmination now from that time period, which is very nice. I think you're working hard too, which is good. Or reflecting on that right now with Saturn going retrograde, but do put in that discipline. Maybe you guys have been taking on some more responsibility, some hard work, things of that nature. More mature kind of approach to things. People are definitely seeing you probably as much more of that mature, responsible type of individual. And so put in that hard work. This is Saturn in the first house in terms of these goals and plans. And you'll be very surprised. Saturn's often talked about very harshly in terms of it just being about restriction and things, but it's not. It's about putting in that discipline and hard work and pragmatism into that area of our life, which for you, it's all areas of life with the first house. And it always pays off. Saturn always pays off where there's hard work. So anyways, at the beginning, a full moon here, I think you're seeing very clearly here at the beginning of the month in terms of what these goals and ambitions are, because it's illuminating that. And this is all relating to those new beginnings that shaped up for you about 2 weeks ago, back in May, when you had the new moon in your 7th house of relationships. So a culmination point too of perhaps some relationship stuff or one-on-one stuff or legal stuff, anything else on a one-on-one level over the past 2 weeks. So very nice, and you're seeing both areas very clearly at the beginning. Then on the 4th, we've got Venus shifting houses. She's going into your 9th house. This is around the 4th, give or take. And this is the expansive side of life. The 9th house is all about expanding our mind, travel, spiritually expanding through spirituality, divinity, things of that nature. So that's where all these opportunities have been. And there's going to be a nice aspect which I'm going to talk about. But now with Venus going into the 9th, this is all about the enjoyment of that. Enjoying the philosophy, maybe doing some traveling, this month. Maybe even just short distance is fine. But all of that stuff that expands you, I think you'll find very, very enjoyable. Now on the 11th, we've got Mercury going direct after a few weeks of his retrograde in your 7th. There's a lot of this reflection and understanding about relationships this month. First of all, with Mercury going retrograde, you've learned a lot, I think, through application, because Mercury is always about applying it and working with it on a day-to-day level. In terms of your one-on-one connections, this is all relationships too, by the way. It's not just the romantic or whatever. So just how to, it's more about just relating and sharing and doing what's right. It's about, moral conscience as well. So all these things I think you are understanding and learning this month, and this is certainly a time where you will feel that shift around the 11th. So around the 11th there, put that energy forward now for the remainder of this month while Mercury goes direct in that 7th. Apply what you learned about one-on-one connections, and I think you'll be very pleased with that. Now, let's see, on the 11th through the 18th, we've got the Sun conjuncting up to your ruler Mars, okay? So this is very important for you guys, because this is all about your self-expression, because Mars being the ruler of you, your first house of your chart, going over the Sun means I think this month you guys have the opportunity to really express yourself, put yourself out there, set your intent out into the world, be creative. It's all about that prana life force energy too. And guess what? It's all in the area of relationships, you see. So this is, it's also relating to, mostly just those relationships. So this is where you can really express yourself through your one-on-one connections. It can be very romantic perhaps also, but it's very enjoyable nonetheless, because the Sun energy just wants to shine, just wants to have fun and express and have a good time. So that there, I think you'll find very, very supportive especially from this middle part of the month, from about the 11th through the 18th, with the conjunction here on the 14th here in that 7th house. And again, there's more to understand too, and I think there's a lot of motivation too about relationships that you've had. Whatever it is that you're maybe you're working on something productive or active with, one-on-one connections or whatever it is, use that initiative, use that Mars energy into the relationship side of things. Now on the 12th, we've got Neptune going station retrograde. So there's this shift here in your 4th house. It's a minor thing, but over the next 6 months, I think you'll be reflecting on more of the home and family, domestic side of things. It's subtle, but you probably will notice a shift here around the middle part of the month. And then Chiron goes retrograde here later on the 24th. So reflecting on these matters, home and family, because it's all about going with the flow for you, trusting, surrendering in that part of your life. And, here you'll be learning more about surrendering, trusting, letting go, and flowing with this particular area there on about the 4th house. Now on the 15th through the 28th, so the second half of the month, we've got this very nice trine between Uranus and Jupiter. So this has been an ongoing trine since September of last year. So this is an ongoing theme. It happened in September and then again in March. And it's all relating to this expansive element of life that I was talking about. All these areas relating to travel, philosophy, spirituality. You've had the opportunity since then to really, seize those opportunities, sudden opportunities more than likely with Uranus. And where it's coming from is that your guys' self-expression, this all relates to this 5th house too. You guys' self-expression, who you are, what you're creating, what you're about, what you're focused on, what you're really passionate about has been changing. Then it's been a lot of changing actually, especially with the South Node there. So there's this the shifting, lots of shifting here with who you are, your creativity, and all of that is supporting all of this, expansion and possibilities in this 9th house. So can mean some new opportunities coming in through that. For example, it could be like creative opportunities. It can be, opportunities to, could come in through, romance or children or things of that 5th house nature, which will support you in this expansive view of life, which is expanding your mind, body, and soul here in the 9th house, you see. So whatever that is from the 15th to the 28th, I think you'll be very optimistic. Look for those sudden opportunities because they can be quite nice. Now on the 16th, we've got the new moon taking place here in your 7th house once again, because that new moon that took place was last month was right on the cusp between your 6th and your 7th house. So it was a blend of both. So last month in May, there was definitely, I think, some new beginnings with relationships, but also new beginnings with your daily routine and improvement and all of that stuff. But this new moon is very much about the relationship side of things. This is about the one-on-one connections, and I think it's coming from a lot of this reflection and learning and motivation and self-expression and fun and playfulness that's happening in this 7th house for you, which is then spawning these new beginnings here at the middle of the month here. So around the middle of the month, what's nice about this too is that it's conjunct up to your ruler, Mars. So it's very much about you. It's almost like you guys are getting another new moon in your 1st house. It has that energy because Mars rules your 1st house. So there's new beginnings, new goals, new plans, whatever it is with relationships or just with yourself. Both. It's both, really. And reflect on that around this 16th time period because that's what we want to do. But if you're very energized by it, which I think you will be with this conjunction up to your ruler, by all means, go for it. Just remember the new moon is a time of adapting where things are changing and it's not being too set in a particular way because it isn't in Taurus, so we'll make sure not being too set and too stubborn with it. Allow it to change, allow it to adapt. And then as the moon starts to fill up, it'll ease up. There'll be more of that flowing energy into it, especially around the 20th, once the sun goes into, around the 20th, once your sun goes into the 8th, and then especially by the time Mars goes into that 8th house around the 23rd, which is a shift here, where things are shifting from the relationship side of life to the deeper side of life. This is where perhaps the relationships get deeper, or we're spending more time going into the honesty and truth and transparency through our relationships. But it's not just relationships, it's essentially with ourselves. It's everything deeper, that deeper side of life, seeing things for how they are and really asking ourselves and examining our life to find out what it is, what the truth is, basically. And it'll be through that truth that we will, discover, this deeper side of life and these meanings of life and what life's truly about. And you're certainly thinking about it. You're certainly, there's certainly opportunities there. It's all related to this ninth house, but it's going to start to shift into more of that, spiritual nature where you're going, you're reflecting, you're going within, you're seeing what is truly important to you spiritually and emotionally beyond the material realm of things. So anyways, that's going to be the energy going into July, where you're going to have the new moon there in the 8th. But there's definitely this shift at the end of this month from the 20th onward. Then on the 1st of July, which is of course next month, but you'll be feeling this as we approach July. Venus is conjuncting up to Jupiter, which is further assisting you in the opportunities with your ninth house. We all have this going on somewhere. This Uranus trining up to Jupiter, this beautiful conjunction now between these two planets. But for you, it's in your ninth house. So again, travel, expansion, opportunities that come from abroad, philosophy, sharing wisdom. It can be church or anything, religious in that nature, university related. Anything that is about seeing the purpose of life or tapping into the adventurous side of life is really where the opportunities are big time for you, especially the second half of this month. So enjoy those things. I think you'll be very optimistic about it, so that's good. Good opportunities there. Ground those opportunities, make something of them, because that's what we want to do, is we want to make sure we're grounding those opportunities. But in either case, see them, enjoy them. I think you'll find that very nice energy. So Scorpio, I hope you guys have a nice month. If you're new to this form of astrology, do check out masteringthezodiac.com, or if you'd like a personal session, and I will see you all next time. Take care.